There is power behind every story we carry within. Every tragedy, no, yes, laugh, victory. And every testimony that is incubated within our souls have power. The power to transform, from tragedy to crown, from obstacle to opportunity. And all the moments in between make us wiser. Watch Candid Conversations with Charisa for impactful, unheard moments that will certainly spark your power and inner truth to shift, heal, and restore your life. It's time to get real, uncover, unlock, unpack, set free, and increase the dialogue to change a life. We all start somewhere and end in places of destiny. Get ready for the long-awaited Candid Conversations with Charisa.
Three greatest highlights as a preacher's kid. Well, my parents were very renowned travelers. So they traveled, and my brother and I, as my mom would put it, were so well behaved that they just took us everywhere. So every year we would travel and go on different adventures, and normally when they traveled it was for speaking and ministry and teaching, and we'd be there with them, but Dad always made sure that while we were there, we were able to shop. We would go sightseeing. We would go to any amusement parks. We were able to get some adventures. And so, I mean, I've just grown to be someone that I love being home, but I love traveling. Put me on a plane, put me in a hotel, put me in a different country, put me with new food, new people, just a different culture. Like I'm the first. Anybody want to go? That's me. You already go? That's me. And so traveling and adventures is one of the greatest pleasures, more than just experiences, just one of the greatest pleasures that I've had to indulge in as a preacher's kid. And I appreciate it so much because there's nothing like a well-traveled person. And it was more than just your military type of traveling the world. You know, people in the military, they go from one place to the next. They're never stationary. They're on different bases. And so, yeah, they can say they've been to Iraq and they've been to Amsterdam and they've been to Italy and they've been all these places, but it's for the military. That's a different set of traveling. But the children of those type of parents get to experience some of the adventures of traveling. Same principle here. I get to enjoy that, and so I've become that person, which is the very opposite of my husband, who just loves to be home. You put him on a plane, he doesn't mind traveling, but he wants to get home quick. I'm like, just put me in a hotel, put me in somebody's house somewhere with good food, enjoying the sight, the scenery, just away from, because when you're home, you gotta cook and you gotta clean and you gotta make sure that home is good. Like, you have to work at home. When you're traveling, everyone does the work for you. So that's one of the great pleasures. Another very good highlight, this is more than not just a memory, but highlight that I have as a preacher's kid, is the relationships and connections that we've been able to harvest and also maintain. And these relationships, of course, was because of my parents, and then also just as a family. So even though my parents aren't here, there's still relationships that I've been able to maintain because of them. There's some connections that I have because of them. Like, I've been able to access their network. I've been able to have access to the love that people have for them. Therefore, the love that they have for us as their offspring and their family and as their children. And it's just as part of their community. And so I have a great appreciation for relationships because my dad was very strong believer on relationships are so much more important than whatever is after the done. Relationships is first. So according to him, relationships was more important than money. According to him, the relationship was more important than the offense. According to him, relationships was more important than ministry. According to him, relationships was more important than even yourself. like relationships. So he had them, he harbored them, he maintained them, and relationships across the board. It didn't matter the culture, didn't matter the religion, didn't matter the country, didn't matter the race. He just believed in having relationships with people and making them important and valuable enough that they were not easy to throw away, they were not easy to be severed. Now that I've watched him have relationships where he needed to build some boundaries. There was some that he may have needed to cut off because for very good reason. But the connection that he had, and relationships and connections are very different, because he also made sure that the connections that he had with some of his relationships were deep enough and viable enough to where it was more than just, I only know you when I see you. And so, yeah, I carry that same type of thought process as far as the way that I relate to people and the relationships that I have. And granted, my dad was very trusting. That man was a very trusting person. Not so much my brother and I. And I think a lot of that was us in protecting him and protecting my mom and protecting their gift and protecting their investment. So he made what he was trusting. We was looking at this one eye and be like, I ain't trust you. So I'm working on trusting people even when they show you who they are. So there's this line that people use, and if you're not careful, you'll throw people away in a heartbeat. But there's this line that people say, when someone shows you who they are, you believe them. Well, in them showing you who they are and you believing them, then you're saying, you're going to show me who you are. I'm going to believe you. Therefore, you're not trustworthy. Therefore, you're not forgivable. Therefore, you're not even worth my time. But in essence, that's not the case. We're all humans. We all mess up. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect. So we are showing our true colors all the time. Now, I may have you close, but still have you at arm's length, or I just know how to deal with you, or maybe I keep you close, but I know what to expect. But it doesn't mean that I totally disown or disregard or throw you away. So that's really one of the highlights that I've learned as a preacher's kid, and especially as a preacher's kid of Dr. Miles and Ruth Monroe. It's very different. Another highlight is exposure. And this exposure goes beyond the traveled and adventure exposure. I'm talking about the exposure to what purpose looks like, the exposure to what living out your purpose looks like, the exposure to what being a true leader looks like, the exposure to what happens when you live and maximize and release your potential, the exposure to what happens when you tap into your gifts, the exposure to what happens when you are mentor and teaching and training. Like, I've had the pleasure and the benefit of being exposed to what life looks like when you put it into action. I wouldn't have had that exposure. I may not have had that exposure if I didn't have the type of parents that I had. And as my dad being a preacher, but also being a transformational and motivational speaker and teacher and trainer, I was able to see all of that, be exposed to all of that in action and glean from it. Like, I'm still gleaning from the things that I've learned. And then my dad, he just saw it to be so necessary to expose my brother and I to what he already saw as greatness. But he knew in order to do that, he had to literally, what I call, throw us to the wolves. And so he would expose us to what the stage looked like. He's been doing that since we were 5, 6, 7, 8, growing up. And my brother and I hated it. Like, I hated when he would put us on stage. And it was more than just to say hi. Say hi to people. Okay, hi. And then he would start asking questions. Tell the people, listen, what are your... And we're like, and of course, we don't want to embarrass him. We don't want to embarrass ourselves. So you follow through. But I can promise you the conversation we had on the way to this event was, Daddy, please don't call us on stage. Please don't call us up. And he'll give us the look, and he'll never say, I won't. He'll never say, okay. Like, he just always gave this, I hear you, but you better get prepared regardless. And so now when I think about it, like in hindsight now, I'm so grateful for that, because it's because of those moments of exposure that has prepared me to at least take the steps that I'm taking now. It has prepared me to be on someone's stage. It has prepared me to have to deliver even when you're nervous and sweating between the legs because you are scared, because you're doing it scared. Like, I've been prepared. And now it's up to me to take what I've gleaned from and to take these experiences of exposure and build on them and enhance them and further develop into this is the person I am today. So, these highlights of, it hasn't been all peachy clean as a preacher's kid. It hasn't been all, all nice and all smiles and all laughs and all easy. But the highlights have definitely outweighed some of the, what I call, the downplays. Wouldn't change my life for another.